make their way from, oh, sorry, and I did just start recording. Google just reminded me to remind you that I started recording. So we will talk about the timeline for Avocado releases. We'll go through the highlights of the release notes, and that'll be the bulk of the time we spend together today. And then after that, for the first time, this is new for us, we are going to try to give you some insight into what's coming in future releases. Talk more about that at the end. There are a lot of us on the call, and I'm sure a lot of you know this, but please do mute yourself just so we don't get any feedback as we go. And if you do have questions or comments, please send them to your account manager or your implementation manager. And if you're not sure who that is, you can just send them to me, because I really do want to hear them. And thank you for all, to those of you who sent feedback after our very first release note session last month. That was very helpful, and I hope some of you will see that I've taken your feedback. The first things first, and that is to talk about the timeline. So I'm about to talk to you about Avocado 1.39 and all of the great things therein. But what you really want to know is, when do you get it? When do you get your hands on it? And so our first step is to deploy this to your sandbox. And so not to your real environment, just to your sandbox environment. And this week we'll be talking to you individually about when we'll do that. Once it's in your sandbox, the intention is to do some internal testing. Now, we had a lot of questions about that this month, so I wanted to spend some time here. By the time we package and deploy Avocado 1.39 to you, we've done all of our internal testing. So we're not asking you to test this from scratch, not asking you to do our work. When we say internal testing, we mean we want you to get your hands on the new features that we've given you. Right? Put them to use on your actual data and your actual use cases. And if you've got some feedback, give it to us. So by the time it gets to you, it's been through our internal testing, and we're giving it to you for one final pass. Once you're happy, you give us the thumbs up or the check mark, your sign of approval, and then we will schedule a time to move it into your live environment, and we'll communicate that time to you. So once you say, hey, I'm ready to go, we'll then get you the next spot in line, and we'll communicate to you and let you know when that is. Now that can be pretty quick. Last time, some of you tested in a day or two and gave us the thumbs up fairly quickly that you were ready to go to production. And others were in less of a hurry and are still working away on that testing. So it's up to you how quick this process goes. The release notes that I'm going to review to you are already available. They're up online. And if you need a link to that, we'll send it out again after this meeting. And if you go there, you'll also notice that I've given you a link to last month's release notes, so you can remind yourself of what came last time. And I've also given you a video of this meeting from last month as well, and I'll do the same. So these are live documents. They do stay up to date. In fact, if you go to the 1.38 release now, you'll see that we've updated it with additional questions that we got from you, and with information about patches that followed that initial release. There are a couple different sections here. First off, we've got new features. Our last release, 1.38, had a lot of new features. This time we only have 2, but we do see a lot of changes, a lot of work building on those features from last time. We have a couple fixes. You might think of them as bug fixes. Schema changes we won't review, but those are cases where we've added new fields. So for those of you who work on reporting and really understand the data behind Avocado, you want to pay attention to the schema changes. And we've given you a couple new custom settings for the admins. But let's jump into the interesting stuff. So first off, we've got 2 new features. Now, the first only pertains to those of you using eCard. eCard is a particular payment processor. If you are using eCard, this release contains a whole bunch of updates to the payment recovery service that you use. I will leave it there. And if that's you, please do read the release notes. There's a lot more information contained there. Feature number 2, we've made some changes to the ways that we store payment methods on your memberships. And I'll spend some time explaining this one. So I'll start more technical and then get more general as we go. So from the technical lens, the membership application now stores payment details. And when I say payment details, think Jordan's MasterCard or Carrie's EFT bank details, right? An individual person's payment details. And so what that means moving forward is during membership renewal, the system is going to check to see what method of payment is logged on the membership. And if that's blank, then it's going to reuse the last payment method that was used. So up until today, the way your system worked is every time we renewed your perpetual memberships, for most of you that's every 2 weeks, the system would check to see which payment method did we use last time. Oh, last time it was on Jordan's MasterCard? Great, it'll be on Jordan's MasterCard again. And what you let us know is that caused one problem in your workflows. During COVID closures, when you were shut down, often you weren't able to change the method of payment on file for future memberships, because if they hadn't renewed yet, you had no way to make the change. They already made their last payment on their Visa, so there was no way for you to switch it over to their MasterCard. So that was one of the reasons we made this change. So now the membership itself has a stored card. We'll talk to you about how you set that and change it in a second. But the reason that it has a stored payment detail, I said card, but payment detail, is so that you can update that and have it update into the future. So if we do have another scenario of closing down for COVID, you'll be able to update the payment details into the future. So I said I'd start technical and get less technical. Here's the less technical. What this means is that staff and members can change the payment method on a membership prior to it renewing. Staff are going to be able to update this right in the Avocado menu. So I can go to Jordan's adult membership and change it from the MasterCard to the Visa. Members are also going to be able to update this in the Avocado portal. Now, in the Avocado menu, we've already provided you a spot to collect this information. So at the bottom, as you're going through a membership purchase, step number 5 allows you to enter payment information. And so now entering payment information there will store it on the membership in this way. Later, if the member decides to change that, you can go right to their membership on the membership page in Avocado and make that change from one payment to another. You can also continue to change it the way you have been by going to the order and updating the future payment methods. But we've given you a quicker way that will trump that, which is right through the Avocado menu. Those are the two big features. So number 1 was payment processing on eCard. Number 2 was that change to the way that we store payment methods on memberships. It will mean a change to the way that your staff update payment methods. So that may mean a change to internal SOPs. And what it gives you is this ability to change payment methods in the event of a closure or in the event that someone's membership hasn't yet hit the renewal period. Now we move into changes, and there are a whole bunch of really positive changes for attendance. So last month in Avocado 1.38, we unveiled a new attendance feature. If you missed that, we did a whole meeting where we demonstrated attendance as of 1.38, and you can find a link to that right in those release notes as well. You gave us a lot of feedback leading up to last month and last month again, and you'll see a lot of that reflected here. So first up, we made it easier for you to access attendance records right in Engage. So Engage is the iPad or mobile app that you may use to track attendance. And right in the Engage app, we've now given you a contact page and an attendance tab on the contact page. Similarly, you also asked for a notes field. And so now that the attendance is visible right in Engage, there's a note field on the attendance, meaning the notes fields are also visible. So those were two pieces that you asked us to add to Engage to make it easier to see the attendance history and also take notes, understand it a little bit better. We made some changes to the billing controls in attendance. So you may remember when we demonstrated attendance last week. It popped up first during registration. So if I'm registering, in this case a child for childcare, I'll see a calendar pop up. And I'll pick, okay, this child's coming Monday and Wednesday and Friday, 3 days. And you saw that those 3 days populated the quantity on the order. So I would get charged for 3. So if the rate on the instance was $5, in this case per day, it would charge me for 3 days. What we've done now is we've updated that to also work for those of you who don't use the quantity field to represent the number of days that the child is going to be attending. So for some of you, you sell an entire month of childcare. You still want to track which days that child is coming, but you want to be able to charge for the entire month, right? Just one quantity. So for that reason, we've now given you the ability to link or unlink attendance from the quantity field on the order. So I know that sounds a little bit technical, but this is all about letting you tie the number of days selected to their payment or untie the number of days selected from their payment. Now you'll be able to track attendance either way. Another change to attendance billing, and this is just specific to Engage, is that you now have the ability to bill for an unplanned attendance directly through Engage. So if I'm registered in an instance, but let's say I'm only registered to come Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Today's Thursday and unexpectedly I show up. Now your staff can add that child, can add an attendance record for that child right in Engage, right in the iPad, and have that update their bill. So add an extra day. Now again, that's if attendance is turned on and if you have it enabled to charge by the day. Previously, you had to go into Avocado menu, see that the child attended an extra day and add that to your bill. You let us know that that wasn't a good workflow for you. So now the staff can simply check that child in the same way they would anybody else, and they'll be able to update that child's bill, well, that family's bill. The next one concerns the Avocado menu. We let you know this was coming when we demoed it. If you've been playing around with attendance, you know that the search function to bring up the instance you were dealing with was pretty simple in the first version. It was just the barcode. That's been updated drastically, so that's now the same search that you'd see anywhere else in programs and camps. Now, the last piece here concerns instance creation. So we gave you all of this new functionality surrounding attendance. And if you've been setting it up so far, you've mostly been doing it one by one in the back end. It's important for you to be able to do this en masse. And so we've updated the Avocado menu so that when you or your staff are making instances, they'll see all of the options to configure attendance. And we've updated the instance uploader. So that's the tool that allows you to take a spreadsheet full of instance data, stick it into Avocado, and wind up either creating or updating a bunch of instances. We've now included all of the attendance information in the instance uploader. Remember, anytime we change that instance uploader, if you need a fresh copy of all of the upload sheet, you can just hit export at any time and you'll get a blank version. So those are all of the updates on attendance. If you're using attendance or you're getting ready to plan a rollout of attendance for September 2021, I do have a really good read through those release notes. So there are a lot of big changes there. The second change that we've made is to the outstanding payments report. So if you're in the Avocado menu, you go to Finance and then Collections, you see a report called the Outstanding Payments Report. Previously, when you exported that report, you would only see the account name or the household name. So here, for instance, we're seeing, and sorry, Aaron Schufelt, if you're on the line, this is a sandbox shot. So here you're seeing that Tester Schufelt is the first entry. You asked us to include the contact information on that export, and so now we have. And the idea is this is intended to make it easier to link the outstanding payments to the attendee, the registrant, rather than just the household. Change number 3 is to memberships. In the Avocado menu, when you go to view your memberships, for some of you, that list can be rather large. Some folks will have dozens of memberships on file with you, especially if they've been with the YMCA for quite a while. So in order to help with that, we've made that list sortable. Let me bring up an image here. So if you're viewing the memberships on an account, you see this list currently. We've taken the 3 fields that I've highlighted and we've made those sortable. So you can now arrange by status, start date, or end date. The fourth change we've made is the ability to control your default age. So this actually exposes a feature that's always been there, but previously we controlled this for you, and we're now making this more accessible. So you might ask, well, why do I need a default age? So you might know, or as you probably know, when you sell memberships and when you register in programs, you often impose age limits, right? Even if they're 0 to 99, it's still a limit. So if you have a contact that doesn't have a date of birth, the system usually can't register them in any programs, can't sell them any memberships because there's just no way to calculate their age. The system has to have an age in those cases. Previously, we had just set this as a default and worked one-on-one with you to update it. For most of you, this was set to 35 or a generic adult. You'll now have the ability to change that to be specific to your organization. So you can tell your version of Avocado, if someone doesn't have a date of birth, treat them as 18, treat them as 20, etc. Now, you may decide that you don't want folks without dates of birth, and we do have a report for that. Let us know if we need to point you towards it. We can show you all of the contacts that lack a date of birth. But when they do, you want to be able to control how old they're pretending to be. So that does it for the changes. Moving on to fixes, and I'll spend a little bit less time here. So first, we do have a bug fix where we had childcare orders were reverting to their original payment details if they were amended and then subsequently rescheduled. So there was a specific sequence of events that resulted in an order changing back to its original payment method. That's addressed in 1.39. We learned recently that if two individuals are on the Avocado portal and they attempt to register for an instance at very much the same moment, it was possible to over-register that instance. We've now changed the way that this is handled. And so if two folks click at the same time, of course, it can't be the exact same time, it's just impossible. So whoever clicked first, even if it's just by a tiny little bit, they are registered, and whoever clicked second will automatically be waitlisted. Now, this doesn't apply to instance packages. If you or your organization uses instance packages, say to take a bunch of instances and sell them as one, you may know that instance packages don't have their own wait lists. So for instance packages, the second registration just fails. Either way, you don't end up overbooking that instance. As some of you have pointed out, there was a display issue with the end date on programs, and this was specific to the portal, so what your customers were looking at. That has been updated. Last release, we gave you a fix where one of the reports was exporting without a CSV file extension. We did let you know that was happening in two places, and we only got one of them that time. Here's the other. So there was a childcare report in the Avocado menu that was exporting without a file extension. Until now, you've been just manually typing .csv and then opening it on your computer. That will now export properly for you. I'll go quickly on this one. Some of you use a model of attendance where you expect children multiple times per day. Right? Sometimes you have a before school and after school program, one instance, but it expects the registrant twice. In 1.38, when we released attendance to you, if you had a drop-in that day, it would still only allow you to record one attendance for them, or it would only expect one. Now we've synced that up so that if you have a drop-in on a day that expects 2 attendances from any other registrant, it now expects 2 from them as well. We've made some changes to the way that refunds appear. All I'll point out here is that this change is not actually a change to the calculation or the logic used in refunds. What we're trying to do is make it simpler and clearer to the user what's being refunded and where. So our team did work really hard to try to figure out what information do your users need to see, how does it need to be labeled in order to make that refund process clear. And this is one where I really would encourage you to go walk through that in the sandbox to help you understand what your users are going to see. when that change rolls out. So there's no change to the order of operations on their part. There's no change to the way the refunds are calculated, but we hope we've made it easier and simpler for them to understand what's happening during those refunds. Number 7, this is a big item for those of you whom it affects. Previously, Avocado was not designed to handle extremely large decline files. So when your credit card processor declines some transactions and sends them back to you, they send a decline file. And for many banks, that decline file only includes the declines. But for some, it includes the declines and the successes, meaning the file's really big. If this has affected you, you're probably aware of it, because it meant that that file would error when coming into Avocado. We've made this change so Avocado can now handle very large decline files. So if this was affecting you, you'll no longer have to process those manually. So that does it for Avocado 1.39. We'll see you again in a month for 1.4, but I did want to give you a sense of some of the things you can expect in 1.4 and 1.41. You've been asking for this for a while, and it's something that we really do want to deliver to you, right? This insight into what's in the pipeline, what's coming your way. Now, know that a lot of items in development have question marks surrounding them. Sometimes we intend to put something in this release, we dive in and it's complicated. So it ends up spanning 2. And very often we start a project and continue to work on it release after release. And I think you've started to see that with things like childcare attendance, where we continue to build on it based on your feedback. So with that in mind, here are some items that are currently under development. First up is incident reporting. Under development is actually the wrong term here. Incident reporting is fully developed, and it's a great piece of functionality. A lot of you have seen this demonstrated now. Until now, we've had trouble, to keep it non-technical, packaging and installing. I didn't keep that non-technical at all. Until now, we've had trouble getting it to you. So what we're working on is packaging that in a way that makes it easier to not only install for you, but also support and update. And that was the piece that was missing. So we're working very hard on that. We've got a great rollout plan in the works for you, so we can roll out incident reporting to you very, very soon. Now, item number 2, continuing on our work with attendance, you've let us know that dashboarding or a heads-up view of attendance is really important to you. So attendance dashboards is another item that we're beginning to work on. Item number 3 is the inclusion of account-based prompt responses in the class list. Now, I know this one's pretty specific. For those of you who use the class list, the pre-built report in Avocado, you'll know that it supports prompts that you collect during registration. So the traditional style of prompts or questions in Avocado. Our newer functionality lets you put prompts right on people's account. If you do that, those types of prompts so far haven't shown up on those class lists. So this piece of development is to make sure that all of your prompt responses are visible on your class lists. Item number 4 is a bit of a catch-all. We're doing a number of items under the banner of improving the way that we handle inactive payment details. Again, the term payment details in Avocado, think of that as a stored payment method, right? Jordan's Visa, Steve's card, Joe's bank account. You've let us know that you wanted some changes in terms of the way that Avocado allows you to archive or hide. To some of you will think of it as a delete. And so we're hoping to make some positive changes there. Item number 5 is our first step towards membership proration. So proration is an important item for a lot of you. It breaks down into a few different pieces. And first things first, the first piece is how to prorate memberships upon membership sale. That's the piece that we're taking on first, and that's what's currently in development. After that, the next piece would be how to deal with proration midstream. So a membership that's amended or canceled partway through a period. And then the final piece would be to how to deal with proration in an upgrade-downgrade situation, which is really just a variant on the first 2. So the first piece that we're tackling is proration at the time of membership sale. Next up is a big item for facility bookings. For those of you who are using facility bookings heavily, you'll know that Avocado lets you create recurring bookings, but you must edit those individually. You've let us know that it's important to be able to edit those in batch. And so that is a piece that we are working on for you. This again is a bit of a bucket, a few items here. We're making a series of improvements to Cantaloupe. If that sounds unfamiliar, Cantaloupe is the system that controls your access. For some of you, you're using card swipes. Those run on Cantaloupe. For some of you, you have door kickers. Those run on Cantaloupe. For some of you, you're just scanning individuals in or out, and that's Cantaloupe. So first up, we're making some changes. So far, Cantaloupe has always been membership focused. It's been about checking somebody's membership and allowing them into the facility. And we're trying to expand Cantaloupe for you to include program registration. All right, so that Cantaloupe can interact with your program reg and grant access that way. Next up, a lot of you have asked for more day pass functionality in Cantaloupe, right? The ability to quickly sell day passes with access. And finally, we're changing some of the data that Cantaloupe records. A lot of you use your Cantaloupe reports heavily. They tell you who's in your facility, who's out, where they are. And so the more data that Cantaloupe is able to record about who, what, when, and where, the better. So we're working our best to get more information, more data onto the event log that's created by Cantaloupe at the time of the swipe. Next up, we know that some of you are still experiencing a search timeout. So this is another that turned out to be a journey. So you may recall that some of you, when we started making lots and lots of instances, usually during the first COVID lockdown, we realized that if you had too many instances, it became tough to search for them. The system would time out. So we added more filters to the programs and camp search page. And that helped, but we've learned that for some of you, that still isn't allowing you to refine your search down to a small enough number. So we're reopening this, we're revisiting this, and we're going to continue to work on allowing you to filter your searches and also avoid hitting those search timeouts. Next up, again, a bit of a bucket, but we're starting a journey on waitlist updates. So a number of you have asked for changes to the ability to automate waitlists, work with your waitlist better, and understand who's on your waitlists. So you will see that come out in a number of pieces from us, and stay tuned for more details on that. But waitlists is something that we're beginning to turn our attention to. You might remember that last month, we introduced this idea of dynamic divisions. Now, if you've been with Avocado for a while, you'll know that traditionally Avocado supported 3 divisions: camps, childcare, and health, fitness, and aquatics, or programs. We all named them a little bit differently. And so with the last release, we took a big step forward in allowing you to introduce more divisions and letting you support those through the Avocado menu. So you can create programs in those divisions. People can register in those programs. However, the Avocado portal continues to support the original 3 programs. Sorry, 3 divisions: childcare, camps, and health, fitness, and aquatics. Now, lots of you have renamed them, but it is still 3. And so that brings me to this last item on the list, which is we are working on changing the way that the portal handles your divisions so that you can have more dynamic divisions available to you in the Avocado portal. So if you are working on expanding your divisions, and you were wondering when you were going to make that a customer-facing change, that's something we're working towards with you now. And I think that is it. I did want to let you all know that there were 2 runners-up for our cover photo today. The first one is also from Lennox. Thank you very much, Lennox, for what I think is a French bulldog. And number 3, third runner-up, was Carrie, project manager Carrie's cat, who stole her avocado, which I'm assuming was never seen again. All right, well, thanks. Well, thank you all so much for coming. I'm really thrilled to see how many of you came out. We will distribute this recording afterwards for you.